Hello and welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. Today we're doing a Patron Picks episode. It is actually the biggest Patron Picks of the year because it's the one where everybody got to vote. And they decided, let's talk about effectively programming your radio. So we're going to be talking about, VHF, UHF primarily, and how to effectively program them, not just for, which repeaters are good, but like how it can actually be a useful tool, not just in emergencies, but maybe when you're outdoors, out in and around town. And we're going to talk a little bit about memory banks as well and how to get the most out of them because, not everybody uses them, to be honest. So stay tuned, enjoy the memes, and we'll get started real soon. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me out here. Today, we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned, programming radios. But I'm going to try and do a bit of a giveaway at the end. I think I have the tools sorted out to do it. But if I can't, we'll do the giveaway at the actually during the after chat. So I'm not trying to make you stick around the after chat if you didn't want to. But if I can't get the giveaway going, you'll have to hold on until that so we can get a little bit more time to set it up. But we'll be doing it live just via the chat and all kinds of other stuff, so make sure you stick around. Thanks again coming out. Big thanks to the patrons. You guys are the ones that allow me to kind of do all this stuff, and every beginning of the month, first weekend of the month, we do a patron pick episode. This one had to be moved out because we had Randolfo on last weekend, so we needed to move this out. But you guys voted for this, so if you don't like this topic, well, become a patron, and then you can decide what we talk about. Another big shout out to my wife and the Ham Tactical website, which is the merch store for the Ham Radio Crash Course, which has the lovely WSJTX hoodie that's available and our holiday special, the FT8 stocking. So, really send the message that you're a ham to everyone that comes to your home by having an FT8 stocking. I'm going to hit on a couple other things, too, real fast. We are doing the end of the month giveaway. That's still happening. The giveaway today was just for some fun stuff from Quirky QRP, which, as always, James Hannibal, big, we love the stuff he comes up with. We've talked about it many times in the past, but James is the man, and if we get that all sorted out, we'll hopefully be doing, hey, there he is right above me in the chat, so appreciate you, James. Thanks for coming out, bud. But anyway, still doing the 300K subscriber giveaway. The link is in the description to get involved in that, and I'm in a giving mood, so I'm just going to tell you what the secret word is right now. It's grid down. So when you go and sign up for the giveaway, make sure you use one word, grid down. I know it's not normally one word, but that's how we're going to use it on the form today. So go ahead and take the link in the description, and you can get in on that whole thing for the giveaway. 300,000 subscribers, giving away an ICOM 705, a Yaesu FTDX10, a MobiLink TNC4, and I've got to update this. I have to update this to mention a couple of PowerFilm solar panels too, which is absolutely insane. Those are pricey pieces of kit and really, really good stuff. So thanks again to everybody, but especially PowerFilm Solar because those guys just donated it. I pretty much paid for all the other stuff. So. Yeah. All right. So what's the story here? Well, and everybody's got memory channels in their radio, right? And how often do you think about what goes into those memory channels? Some of you take a lot of time and you have a very methodical approach to how you do it. Others, maybe you just cram whatever you can grab from, repeaterbook.com into your radio, and that's fine. But I'm going to show you a couple of things I do to kind of get the most out of my programming, maybe change your mind set a little bit on how you might set it up, and then I'll show you how to do a little bit of housekeeping on your radio so you can either get rid of the frequencies that you really hear nothing on, or even better, cull the frequencies where you hear a lot of nonsense that you think is not value added, because we have quite a few of those repeaters here in California. And stay tuned, I'll have links for everything, and we'll update the description at the end of this for everybody that's listening. All right, okay, good. Got a couple of slides here to go through. And there was somebody in the chat, I think I missed their name, I totally forgot it, but congratulations on getting your general. That is excellent. So absolutely love to hear it, love to see it. The whole 9 yards. All right. So effective radio programming for EDC, adventure, and emergencies? Maybe? Yes? No? Not sure? Well, let's talk about it. So our objectives here are to utilize the memory channels for daily use, right? This is not a big flashy thing. This is just effectively using our radios in the way that they're designed. It could be a bow thing, but in today's case, I'm largely going to be talking about the ID50, which is going to be the radio that we're using as an example. The ID50, I picked this up recently, and I've gone through a little process to effectively load it with the right frequencies and the right memory channels. I've also added a set of cards. These are my standard list of laminated cards that are helpful in case someone stumbles upon me or my radio, or I hand this and another radio to this individual that could be keyed, programmed similarly, that they can do whatever they need to do with it. As far as those cards go, I'll be dropping the link to those cards and today's slides to the patrons. And again, thank you for your support. So our goal and objective is to talk about memory banks, right? Not just the monolithic memory list. We're going to cover that, of course, but we're going to break this down into memory banks, and I'm going to show you actively how to program for it. It will be on the ID50, but the concepts are pretty much the same. I will be using RT systems because it works best for whichever radio you have, particularly if you're doing radio banks. But again, a lot of this you can still do with Chirp. And of course, RT systems or the manufacturer's software is needed for memory groups. That should be, reiterated. But hey, we'll do that too. By the way, I will be monitoring the chat for questions like this one from Sabi. They ask, what is the difference between the ID50 or the ID50? I like that, and the 51. The ID50 and the 51 have a different size. The 51 is a color screen that's also bigger. The 50 does not have Bluetooth. It is a less expensive radio, but for all intents and purposes, it pretty much does the exact same things. I do like the size of the 50, though. I got to give it some points for that. And if you hang out in the after chat, by the way, we do an after chat after this show. We hop on over to the Discord and we take live questions and have commentary, and I'll break out radios and we'll do live how-tos as we need to based off of what you need if you have questions. So I'll break out the 51, or sorry, the ID52. Oh, the 51, okay. I don't have a 51, but I have an ID33. Sorry, I misunderstood your question. The 52 is the other one. The 50 and the 51 are actually kind of similar, except the 50 has USB-C, and it actually works for data, too. We can talk about that, though, in the after chat. That's a really good question. We should probably go in a bit of a deep dive on that one. All right, so what are memory banks or groups? And really, it's kind of just like what you see here. Memory channels, you can think of them as like pages in a book, right? And if you were to take chapter markers and go through and drop a chapter marker every 15 pages or 50 pages or 100 pages, that delineation would be a group. And you can kind of tell your radio, I just want to work with this group of pages right now. I only want to scan this group. I only want to look at these memory channels. I want them grouped, as it were, right? So it's a good idea if we break things up into groups, and that's what we're going to be doing as I go through the rest of these slides to explain how we group things in a logical way that makes sense. And I like the term thinking of them as albums, like a photo album or chapters. Again, most radios do not have a hard, there are 100 channels per group. I think there was one or two that actually did that, but most of the time you just set how many channels you want. There sometimes will be an upper limit to the number of channels that you can have in a group. In such point with the ID50, it has 100 slot channels. You don't have to use 100 slots, but it tops out at 100 slots. So once you get to the 101st slot, it wants to put it in slot 2 or 3, etc. So keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to break this down. The first list is your EDC list, your everyday carry. Not necessarily like your pocket knife and all that other stuff you carry, but what you just have in an HT if you were in and around town, or just when you pick it up and you use it. So a lot of this is based on you, so keep that in mind, right? So going to have to ask yourself, what are you going to put on your radio? You might be a really big airband listener, so you might have airband on your everyday radio that you just receive AM airband, like the frequency of the local local tower, and that's what you do, and that's totally fine. For me, I have a list of like a core nucleus of repeaters that I like that I've pulled off of repeaterbook.com and just from my time in listening to repeaters here in Southern California. I always have the National Simplex and Adventure frequencies, which is 146.520 and 146.580, and we'll talk about those in a little bit too. And I like first responder frequencies as well in some cases. Out here in Southern California, a lot of our police and fire, our first responders, are on P25, which is a digital mode, and they are encrypted channels most of the time. So there's not a whole lot we can do with that with our humble amateur radio radios, unless you want to carry a P25 radio. But that limits the actual amount of bands that you have in whichever service you're working with. So you may actually need like a second radio to do that effectively. A lot of folks like to have NOAA weather on their radios, and that's fine too. I'll actually show you later on my ID50 how to use those effectively. Most of the more expensive radios will have a button you can press for weather alerts or to go straight to the weather channels, and those can be really effective because you may not want to just be listening to the weather radio in the background, and you may not want to devote a memory channel to it when that can be used for something more vital, more important. Further, you generally don't want to scan weather channels because you're always going to stop on that channel, and it's going to slow down your scanning process. So I always leave weather channels on skip, and I'll show you how to do that. Question from Andrew. I understand how radio can be effective during an emergency, but I don't understand how you effectively say that there is an emergency happening. You know what, Andrew? I swear we did a video with Randolfo, not a Rubicon, last weekend, and I've posted like 2 videos on what constitutes an emergency within the last couple of months. The short answer, and I'll just make it real quick because it's not totally in tune with today's topic, but the short answer here is that there has to be a threat to life, immediate threat to life, or property. And what do I mean by property? Like a bridge is going to go out or a building is going to fall, potentially endangering other people. The assumption, though, is that you exhaust all the normal communication methods that you have at your disposal. So a cell phone, a radio in which you are licensed on. So if you're a GMRS user and you don't have an amateur radio license, you would first need to use that GMRS radio to call for help, and then only try the amateur radio as a last resort. The reality is, and I've talked about this multiple times, buying an amateur radio to think that it's going to save you in an emergency, having never used it before, is likely not a very good idea because you're not going to be that adept in using it. You're not going to have built the muscle memory of how the radios work. You're not even going to have somebody to talk to. Who are you going to talk to? Who are you going to reach out for help? There's a lot of things that you can't really assume are going to be available when you have an emergency when the radio is the only thing left at your disposal. The obvious one that we talked about was if you stumbled on a police officer that was hurt, there seems to be a pretty, reliable feeling that if you were to pick up their radio and use their radio to call for help, that would be fine. And nobody's really, I think, upset if you would do that. Now, this is not legal advice, as I said in the live stream, so anything you take from me here is just an everyman's thought here. It's not an actual legal advice, so keep that in mind, okay? And then lastly, using ICOM radios, in this case with the ID50, there is a website called D-Star Info, and you can actually download a really nice list of repeaters. This is a bit different than the memory channels, right? And I'll show you this as we do this. But what's cool about it is you can give it a lat long, and it will spit out a file, and that file will be filled with D-Star repeaters, but you can also tell it at what percentage you want FM repeaters. You can make the whole thing analog FM repeaters if you want to. And what that little file will do is your radio will take it, and it will actually use its GPS to determine which repeaters are in your local area. I love this feature when I always take one of those radios when I'm traveling to Huntsville, or I'm going to Hamvention, or I'm going to whichever ham fest, I usually bring the ICOM radio because I can just GPS, boop, 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 find the repeaters that are local to me, find out where the action is, and just get on with it. So I don't have to, stumble around doing a bunch of searches or pouncing on people and calling for, hey, what repeater is this? Or trying to figure out what the tone is. It's kind of a pain. Don't worry, I'll show you. It's a pretty easy thing to do here at the end if we have time. Okay, so that makes up like group 1. And again, I will show you, I promise. I'll show you this on the programming software, but the idea is to start cooking in your brain with what you might put into it. So what's the adventure time frequencies? Well, this was something that, we learned firsthand from George from Ham Radio Workbench. He came on the show and he told us about the adventure frequency and using it in an interesting way. 146.580 megahertz is the adventure frequency. However, they have a really nifty, novel approach of using CTCSS tones. And CTCSS tones are kind of like privacy tones if you're coming from the world of GMRS. In fact, it's pretty much the same thing. But we use it most often for communicating with a repeater to tell the repeater, hey, turn on, I'm going to pass my audio through you, and I want you to retransmit it for me. Well, they came up with the idea, they being George and others, they came up with the idea that if you just took like 146.580 memory channels, right, duplicated them, and then just changed the CTCSS tones to only be receive and transmit when you hear those tones, you could break up the intent of those messages. And I'll show you how to do that here when we get to the programming side of this. So 67 hertz, which is a subaudible tone as we call it, would be an emergency calling call. Or if you were on 77 hertz with your CTCSS tone, that would be a ping. Now, this does need some infrastructure, and if you want to get the most out of understanding this, you can go to sierraradio.net/adventure radio. And again, these slides I will send to the patrons over on Patreon. Or you can go watch the video that I did with George when we're done with this live stream, right? A couple of cool things that we can do with this is obviously the ping. I love that. But SOTA and POTA, right? Any operating that's going on there, great as well. But then you can do these triggered automated messages. So a lot of repeaters actually have the capability to kind of monitor two things at once, or monitor simplex frequencies and pipe those in and through the main repeater. So what you could do with some of these is using a ping system and the triggered automated messages, you could reply back to people like a ping, for instance, if somebody just kerchunked on 77 hertz subaudible tone, the repeater that's listening or can hear that might come back and say, oh, by the way, if you are on the adventure frequency 146.580, you might want to also check out a repeater at 144. Blah blah blah, with a plus offset and a PL tone of, I don't know, 120. I don't remember what the next one was, 225, 27, something like that. So kind of cool. Again, this is a deeper dive. You probably should go watch that hour-long video that we did with George if you want to get a better understanding there. So what's the programming list look like for this? Well, it's pretty simple. You just create multiple copies of 146.580 with different CTCSS tones. National simplex is what I would add as well at 146.520. And then depending on the location, and this is one of the downsides when it comes to memory channels and programming your radio, is that you're going to have to change these. If you do travel around, you're often going to have multiple banks. Potentially you have a Southwest bank, and then you have a Texas bank, because not even one bank would cover Texas, but you get the idea. That's the best way to go about doing this, is to really start thinking in the terms of these are finite frequency spaces. They are only going to be useful at certain times, so you're going to have to change as you go around. All right, so emergency situations. Now, when you're, hey, thank you, Ree Larson's pretty funny. That's pretty good. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thanks for the sticker. That's cool that it plays on the stream now. Love it. Get good, indeed. Get good, scrubs. That's right, you filthy casuals. All right, so emergency programming. Again, everything I'm saying you're going to have to frame in your own emergency, whatever you think's going to happen, what you normally deal with. Like, you might be a member of Aries or Races, and you're going to have a very specific frequency set that you're going to use with those groups of folks. Now, that's where groups is perfect, because then you can have an Aries group that just has all of your programmed stations that you would use during a practice or, a real emergency type stuff. But if you ask me, what are my interests for using a radio in emergency? Well, primarily it would be information gathering. I'm not really going to be doing a lot of transmitting, which I'll talk about here as we move on. But I am going to be listening at broadcast news, so, FM broadcast stations. First responder frequencies will be of interest to me, but again, P25 and being encrypted is another issue. And then radio services like GMRS, FRS, MERS, of course, amateur radio, VHF, UHF. So there are going to be standard frequencies that I'm going to want to have loaded, which, again, I'm going to show you how to do. GMRS, FRS, and then, of course, the national simplex frequencies like 146.520 for 2 meters or 446 megahertz for 70 centimeters. That's a lot of stuff to remember correctly. Get all tongue-tied. And then cooperation type frequencies. So good predefined off-grid capable repeaters. What do I mean by off-grid repeaters? Well, they don't require the grid for power. They have solar panels. Maybe they have a battery bank. Likely in situations like these, I know of a couple of repeaters in my area that will actually switch to low power mode, and they'll run off of batteries and solar panels. They'll still work. You won't be as effective, and it won't have that same footprint, but they'll still be effective. And it's up to you to figure out what those are. I obviously can't help you out with that, but they do exist. And then, of course, predefined simplex frequencies. These are going to be frequencies that you've predefined with your group of people, your friends, your loved ones, your family, whatever. You have to figure out what that is. That's not for me to tell you what to do. What I like to think about in an emergency, though, is after an emergency, it is probably a good idea to avoid transmitting until you absolutely need to. I'm not going to assume what the emergency is, but if it's really bad and you're actually concerned about your safety, then I would just avoid transmitting unless you absolutely needed to. And those are going to be situations like threat to life or, whatever, where you need help. Always be listening, always be scanning. Those are 2 quotes that I absolutely love. Always be listening when you have your radio with you, whether it's an emergency or not. And I like to scan. I like to scan a lot. I'm always scanning the radio. If I'm running an SDR, I like to look at that screen, see where the activity is, and jump around. That is a video for another time. We're just talking about listening to the radio and programming it effectively. And if you are truly in a situation where you think people might be like eavesdropping on your frequencies, it might be a good idea to take any of your primary communication channels, your cooperative channels, and make 2 copies of it. Make a low power copy and a high power copy. In most cases, going with the low power copy will mean less people can hear you. It's true, your friends and allies or whatever might not be able to hear you, but transmitting on lower power also means other people won't be able to hear you. So always try low power first and then bump it up. You can often do that with your radio, just set it to low power, but then when you change the memory channels, boop, it's going to pop back up to whatever you set it to every time you do it. So oftentimes, having it just start out in low, stay in low, and have a second one for high makes a lot of sense. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So why is amateur radio better? Well, I had to splash this in a little bit after our talk with one Randolfo. Why is amateur radio best? As noted in the above slides, it is easy to see how adaptive amateur radios are in emergency cases. So dual band transmit, not just GMRS, not just MERS, wideband receive, even into HF and shortwave, which, we can show that, demonstrate that with other radios. And while I generally don't roll around most days with Mars modded radios, they can be useful in an emergency, and there is value, as discussed in previous videos, in having a radio that can transmit out of band when justified. You're an adult. You decide when and where you need a Mars modded radio. Yeah, hopefully I think there's some people talking about different things on there. But yeah, FYI. When in doubt, cheat. My last thing, and I forgot, I actually made the just pretend there's an image with these little laminated cards, which we'll talk about. I was going to add that to the slide here, so that's why it's a little bit off. Let's go ahead and just Let's just go ahead and make that a different layout. How's that sound? Something we can read. That's better. That's better. All right. There we go. I admit many radios kind of suck to program manually. Straight up. Like if there's so many instances where I get a lot of radios, right? I get radios that are sent to me and I pull them up, and unless I can like look at it and go toot, 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 and I remember the programming, the battery of arms, sometimes I have to dive into the manual, or I've got to sit there and like scratch my head and go, what the heck does this mean? And then I got to pull up a PDF file on a computer somewhere, et cetera, et cetera. So at least at the very least, I like to create little cheat sheets. When in doubt, cheat. Take the time and take that PDF file. Oftentimes it'll be just a multi-step process. Just copy all that, put it in a Word doc or a Google doc, print it out on a small piece of paper, and then print it and then laminate it. One of the best little pieces of kit that I've picked up was my laminator. One of those A4 sheet laminators, business card laminators. Amazon has a Amazon Basics laminator, which I'll find here as we continue, and it works fantastic. I end up doing all kinds of little laminated cards just by copying sometimes the instructions of some of the manuals that are just like, how again do I do, how do I move, rename a memory channel or save a memory channel? Really easy stuff. Packing tape is the poor man's laminator. Yeah. And then you can tape it to the back of the battery. I've seen people do that. It totally makes sense. Yeah, save all the raw. Yeah, I do very much the same thing. And actually, if you we should talk, Mike. Jason KM4ACK and I have now gone to little tokens that if you strap a token to whatever the device is, it's sticky, and then you take your phone up to it. It's a NFC token. NFC token, and you touch your radio or your phone to it, and it will pull up the document automatically. So you don't even have to remember what the document was, where it is on your phone. You just link it, boop, pulls it right up. I do that on like a bunch of my radios. Anyway, yeah, great idea though, Mike. I agree. Except if you're like truly off grid, you may not want to be blowing your battery on something like manuals and whatnot. So anyway, that's my last slide. So let's talk a little bit. First, why don't we just talk about these little laminated cards? Yeah, it's a really great idea, and I did show these to Jason, so I do take some credit in it. But if you go watch, he's taken it a lot further than my initial hint to him when I showed him that. But yeah, okay. So I have one here, and this is just me being a cheapie. I didn't even want to print it out. I just grabbed an index card, cut it to size, and this is my adventure frequencies. What do I have? Emergency call is AV1, AV2 is ping, AV3 is SOTA and POTA, AV4 is general comms, and then AV5 is automated messages, if the repeater is set up to do that. So what does that look like? Well, if I'm on my radio here, which has been scanning, let me get out of scanning, and I go to quick, and I go to group select. Well, I know that group 1 is my AV group. So, get out of that. So there's AV 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back around. And I've got a couple of repeaters that I'm really familiar with. And 2-meter simplex, right? So that's this card that goes along with it. It would be nice if I put a little title on it, but this was, again, me being cheap and lazy, and I did it in a couple of minutes before the show. Other things. Program a channel in the ID50. So if in this example, 146.030 megahertz FM, we want to enter it into channel 11, and then it goes through the process. 1, 2, 3, just straight down the line, and flips over the top. I just printed two-sided. I could have printed it two-sided, but I just printed out two different pieces of paper, put them on top of each other, and laminated it. Where do you get a laminator these days? Great question, Don. I actually should just pull that up. I don't know why I didn't. Totally forgot to do this before the show, but let's do it live, as they say. Yep, come on now. Yeah, so this is the one I have. How much is this? Is it even out of stock? Oh, okay. We'll find a different one then. You don't want the. There you go. You want a 12-inch because you can actually do like a full sheet with it. Yeah, this is what you want. So I'm going to send you an associate's link right now. Everybody in the chat. Yeah, with this size, you can do business cards. You can do half sheet, not legal, but letter documents for, whatever, if you need to laminate a full letter. But yeah, highly recommended. And the laminating sheets are actually pretty inexpensive too. So I've just been laminating whatever I can whenever I get to it. But yeah. And then, there's a man again. And let's see. I had another one. Yeah. After an emergency, this is an old card, man. I don't know if you guys remember when I made this one, but after an emergency, if you want me to find you, turn the radio on and tune to channel 1. And this kind of explains a process that my wife might use if she needed to get my attention after emergency. And all other forms of communication were gone. So these cards I will link to the patrons. So thanks again, patrons, for the support. But something else I will mention, my new version is in my truck. This is a very old version of the NIFON, or the NIFOG document, which is an interoperability field guide. You can download this, but I like the binded one because it's waterproof pages. And there are a couple of tabs here I've identified that, again, you could just leave them in the document. You could just leave the frequencies here, or you could actually program them into the radio, assuming you have the capability within the radio for those frequencies. For instance, you probably don't have some of these interoperable low-band frequencies, but you could. I don't know. But anyway, that's why I mention it. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at programming software. Let me take a quick run at the chat here. Get satin finish. High gloss looks like all caps. Oh, yeah, I can see that. I'll leave that up to you. That's an aesthetics choice. You make the call there. That's not up to me. All right. So here is my file. This is actually the frequency set that I have for my radio, and it really can't be any easier than I'll make a new file here. So let's go new. Or not. There we go. All right, pretty dumb, just blank screen. This is RT Systems, but you can do everything I'm about to show you in Chirp. Go to File at the top, and you go to External Data, and then go to Repeater Book. Oh, Scott Gibson, thank you so much. Gifted 10 Ham Radio Crash Course memberships, and the crowd goes wild. Mike Smith got one. Wow, I know Mike. Hey, thanks. That's pretty awesome. Mike's been a long-time listener. That's super, super cool. Love it. Oh, thank you. That's super cool. Thanks, I appreciate that. And Andy Callie, a member for 33 freaking months, man. That's insane. Thank you so much for the support. That's really awesome. Absolutely love that. Thank you. So it might be hard for you to see this floating little pop-up here. It looks like even though I'm able to increase the font of RT Systems, not able to increase the size of some of these, floating windows. Anyway, all I wrote in here was Cerritos, California, and I put a radius of 35 miles, and then I just selected the bands of operation. If this is for your radio, it's going to be selected the bands that radio works on, so it's a dual band radio, so it's just going to be 2 meters and 70 centimeters, which you can select at any time, and I hit OK. You're going to get another window that's going to pop up, like right there, right? And this is going to be just all the repeaters in the area. And it doesn't know that you're on D-Star. It doesn't know you're on Yaesu System Fusion. It doesn't know anything about anything. So you're going to basically just need to go into the comment section, which is me taking the mouse and bringing it up to the top and just clicking repeater notes comments right here. You can see that on the screen. And then I can just go through and select all the DMR ones and go, no, I don't want that. And when I drag them over, this is a copy, remember, it's not dragged over yet. I'll be able to delete them, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just sort everything by name first. And I'm going to go down, hit Control A, or not. Oh, no, I got to click the button down here. I'm literally blocking it. Hold on. Let me remove myself so you can see this a little bit better. So where I was floating, there's a select all button, which I did, and I'll say create file for the ID50. You don't have to select all unless you go in and click something. Once you click something, then it's game on. Okay, so here would be a potential programming file, right? Nope, that's not me. That's me. And if I wanted to get rid of all the DMR, I would just, click and drag DMR, because, again, this is a D-Star radio, so no need to hear just every time you scan and hit delete channel. I'm going to leave D-Star, but then, okay, just FYI, this is 35 miles from my home, guys, for reference. You probably don't have this problem. 35 miles from my home, this is how many repeaters we're advertising are in my area. That's an insane amount of repeaters. That's like way too many FM repeaters. That's way too much stuff. So what I do, I recommend everybody does this, is go through and select like almost cut this in half, make 2 separate programming files, and then do one week and another the other week and scan. Yeah, so are they even used? No, and see, that's another problem we're going to talk about in a little bit. I'm going to go back to the radio, and I'm going to go through some of the stuff that I do to get rid of some of these just dead repeaters. That's why scanning is so important for me, because I live in an area that's just like, look at this. This is nonsense, the amount of repeaters we have. Oftentimes, too, I will I'll hook up my radio. This might be not the best way to do it, but it's what I do occasionally. I'll hook up my radio to the home station, the home antenna, the roof antenna, and I'll kerchunk the repeater. And if I can't hit the repeater, I delete it. I delete it immediately, because it's like, what's the point? What's the point in hanging on to all these ones if they're just, if they're dead, right? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyway. All right. So you could go through here and start see it switched 0 to 1 right here. It went from that's the 100 slot, the 0 to 1 conversion. So it splits over and you get more DMR. We definitely don't want that, so we're going to go ahead and right click delete. Same with Yaesu System Fusion and P25. I'll just take all these here at the end and delete them. Okay, so that's the idea. That's the quick housekeeping on it. But let me go back to my first programming. Yeah, get rid of this. We don't need it. Let me go back to my first programming. So this is me having done some of this housekeeping on these repeaters. I only have the FM ones aside from my local D-stars, which are right here. And I have a delineation right here. It goes from 0 to 1. Now, 0 is my EDC group, right, that we talked about in the beginning of the talk. My 1 slot is that adventure frequency slot. So here's all the adventure frequency ones. The simplex calling, the 2-meter calling, the ping, SOTA, etc. And you can see that as listed by, look at all these ones that have, oh no, that's right, have all the exact same frequencies, 146.580, which... no wonder you can't see that. I'm blocking you. There you go. Okay, YellowCon, I hear you. I hear you live feedback here. YellowCon saying, tip, I found a lot of problems people have with softwares resolved with a read from radio as the first step. We'll demonstrate that, but I was at least going to show this off first, and then we'll go ahead and load this to the radio as a way forward. Okay? And then I have my emergency set. So my emergency set starts out with weather, but these are marked as skip, so they'll never hit. I didn't need to do this. In fact, I likely won't leave this on, but I wanted to show it as a demonstrator piece for those who, like a Baofeng with a Chinese radio where you don't have the ability to pick up weather as its own separate memory set. Like the 50 has a button for weather. You just click it and it pulls it over, and it'll do really good weather reporting because it'll be occasionally scanning the weather stations. And then I have, oh, look at that. What did Josh do? Well, he has all his interoperability channels with FRS, GMRS, which there's a lot of channels actually in FRS and GMRS. So you may want to forego FRS, right? So what's the point of having FRS and GMRS when you have them, because it's basically the same things, right? Exactly the same thing. And in fact, yeah, it is. So we'll just delete the channels completely, bring everything up, save some memory for future use or programming by hand. And then we got MERS in there as well. Now, this is a work in progress. Like I said, I just got this radio like a week ago, so I will add in some repeaters as we go. But that's going to be me basically taking some of the repeaters that I like and have been consistent and are always good, and just copying them down. And it's literally as easy as me just selecting them. So if that was the one I wanted, and going copy, and then go to the bottom here, and too far, and paste. There we go, and we'll make this a part of memory group 2. And so that's it. Pretty easy. So I'll save that off for a second. Okay, let's see. Don asks, what do you have in the memory? Why are you trying to get me off the topic of VHF, UHF, man? I'm not ready to talk about HF. I'm not even really going to talk about HF. Why do we need... Does anybody actually use HF frequencies for memory? I don't really do that. You can. No offense if you do. I don't. I just scan around. The 7610's got a great screen. All right, let's get that radio over here. Okay. All right, so we're taking the radio. One of the things that's really nice about this. Oh, 10 meter? Yeah, okay. Hey, right on, Don. There you go. You found a good one. Good good answer. 10 meter repeaters, sure. Yeah, you could do that. Okay, so here's my ID50, and we're gonna go this through here the right way. Show this to you live, as you might have known. And dang, why can't you're not gonna be able to see that very well, huh? Yikes! I can see it, but I know you're not gonna be able to see that. There's no way it's just gonna. No, it's not. All right. Well, sorry. Wait. Properties? Nope. Nope. Sorry that the font's so small. But anyway, let me open up ports here. When all else fails, go to your device manager, right? Go to your device manager. Don't have anything plugged in. Nothing plugged in. I reiterate, nothing plugged in. And then take your device. It's on. Yeah, it's on. Plug it in. Did it do it? It did it. See how it blanked out for a second? And now there's a new item. It looks like it's 18. Enhanced serial, right? That's the radio that I just plugged in, okay? So then when you go back to the programmer, you go to communications, COM port setup, and you can say, I'm on the advanced serial port. And you go, okay, cool. Then you do communication, get data from radio at the top. And if you did it right, let's see. Turn off radio. Insert cloning cable. Turn on radio. Then okay. So we're gonna turn this off. All right, we have it off. We have it on. And there's a little USB thing there, and click OK. Not responding. Absolutely love it. Could not have planned it to work better. Absolutely awesome. Hey, Ed, thank you so much for the channel memberships. It's super, super cool. Thank you. And Jace, 5 memberships sent out. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's really funny. Okay. Are your giveaways internal? I don't know what that means. United States? Yes. Uh-oh, couldn't find the baud rate. Well, that's up for you. That's your decision. Let's go back to the COM port. Let's do it again. We're gonna make sure that I didn't screw something up here. So we're gonna go back to device manager. And we're going to disconnect it. Oh, no, it wasn't 18. It wasn't 18. I was wrong. Who caught that in the chat? It wasn't 18. It was 15. USB serial device. Ha, see, I assumed too much. So let's select 15, hit OK. And now I'm just going to go straight into it. Get data from radio. Yeah, sure, go. Yep, there it is. It's happy. It's happy again. Hilarious. Who caught that in the chat? James Hannibal, he says their giveaways are only cerebral. So he's the one doing the give. He's the one that's offered the giveaways here, guys. So you're gonna have to take that up with him. All right, we're loading. Yeah, so Aussie Ham Radio, great point. Now, if and when you do a firmware update, sometimes you may explode your programming. So make sure you save off a copy of it before you do a firmware update. That can be a nightmare. Thanks to the 500 people that are watching. Cheers, everybody. Really appreciate the support. That's a good time to mention that, hey, if you're not doing anything after this and you have some questions within Ham Radio, any question, we'll take them at the after chat. We'd love to talk to you then, too. Join us on the Discord. All right, so that's this is what it says on my radio now. Now you'll note one of the things I did is I skipped a couple of channels, and that's the first thing I'm going to mention. Is that if you're going to do like scanning a lot, I always, like I said, always be scanning. It turns into kind of a pain if you keep hitting the same repeaters over and over again, and they're like some of the ones that we have out here that are kind of like not great, the content-wise. It's actually straight up an FCC violation. I will use the skip function, and you can find that later, as we just did. So this is kind of like a little bit of housekeeping we're going to do live. I'm going to click on skip, and I'm going to go to sort, and I'm going to go to skip. And it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to go descending, ascending, doesn't matter. Oh, you're going to make me do that? All right. Let's do that again. Sort. Skip. Ascending. All right, cool. So probably should have done descending, but whatever. Let's go to the bottom here. Oh, okay. Now I can just grab these guys. I do have the weather on purpose, but if you know W6NUT, that's probably worth a skip. So I'm going to select all those guys. Oh, maybe not weather 7. We'll leave him. And I'm going to say delete. Cool. It might have got, no, weather 7's good. So then I'm going to put that back onto the radio now, since we've got that all sorted out. Should be just fine, because I did a get from radio, right? We're looking at the live get from radio here. So we're going to go send to radio above my head. Click send. And hit OK. And let's see, it should be, it is. It's doing the transfer. Right? Booyah. Happening now. And I'll show you a couple nominal things to set up, and then we'll do a giveaway after looking at the radio. No, this is RT system software. And let me go ahead and tell you, it's my understanding, okay? My understanding that the major difference between the RT system software and the manufacturer's software is the ability to query from other non-amateur radio things. And I'll show you what that looks like, right? There are a number of frequencies and automated things that the manufacturer software just doesn't do, right? So what does that look like? Well, let me show you. If you go back to File and External Data, by the way, Chirp does the same thing. You just have to approach it a little bit differently. If you go to my fast Chirp setup video for a Baofeng, I walk through the whole process. But over here, you got radio reference for search, you have RFinder web search, and you have frequency list. So let's go to frequency list. And these are the options you have. You've got weather radio, FRS, GMRS, MERS, UHF, internant, in it. Why do I have that wrong in my head? Oh, it's marine. Okay. Oh, no, marine's its own thing. Doesn't matter. Anyway, you can add those if you want to, and you can sort them however you want. Or you can just select some of them, right? You can go in through and select them if you want, or not. Let's go into the radio reference for a second so I can show you that. Radio reference, though, if I last remember correctly, yeah, you're going to need a username and password, which I used to have. I don't run it anymore because, frankly, I didn't need it after kind of X amount of time. It's not that helpful. But if you're like a hardcore, scanner person, or you program a lot of radios all the time, having a radio reference account is not bad, but I stopped needing it after a while. That's up to you, though. Okay, let's put this radio back on the overhead, and I'll show you what we got. Okay. So after we do our frequency changes, it's going to say, hey, you're going to have to restart this thing. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. Okay. Now, I still have this in... It is in memory mode, group 1. So let me show you how to get out of that. You go to Quick, Group Select, and it will note if any of these groups are empty. You can see it's got a bunch of them, but if we wanted to, we could go to Group 2, which was our interoperability one, so MERS and all that stuff. And let's do a quick scan. So we'll do scan, and we'll go to group 3, or 3 is the technical number, but if you're not a programmer, then it's group 2. Oh, GMRS activity.
Tarde, no alcancé a hacer nada en el día, pero tomo nunca es tarde. Es que Juan, si por ahí quiere, por ahí transmitir un rato más, le parece, dijo Javi, el elefante, el dueño del elefante allá en...
What an active band.
Bali. Es un mamut. Muy grande, a veces es un mamut.
Oh, I gotta show you one more thing. Okay. No, the Spanish isn't funny. I don't care what people speak. Go to quick. We'll go to group select, or we can change it and just change the scan. Let's scan group 1 now. Who sent my TRW repeater to digital? What was that about? Oh, that's why. We're on the wrong one. There we go. It's the same guys, but they're on DCR. I will say that the ID50 scans incredibly fast. Okay, so that's how fast it scans, by the way. That's over 100 channels, and it just blows through them. Pretty good. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. What else could I say? Well, they probably can't hear me because they don't ever stop talking and they don't unkey the repeater. No, it's not the repeat. It wasn't the speaker. That was definitely the transmission. The speaker's great. I wouldn't say that it's the same quality speaker as the ID52. More time will tell because I haven't done a comparison yet. I probably should take them to the park though and do a proper test against it. So, all right. I'm gonna start taking questions, but in the meantime, let's see if we can do a bit of a giveaway. So let's see, what do I want to give away right now? So this is all thanks to James Hannibal. Let me pull up his website here at Quirky QRP. Our friends at Quirky QRP. One second. The wonderful Etsy shop ran by James. I think all his stuff's really cool. He's been on a kick with these desk mats, and he's got one that's light up, and I don't know if my frame, can I get it? Yeah, okay, I can kind of get it in frame. It's almost too big for, so look at the very top leading edge of this. This is all LED strip, or it's like a, what do you call that? Fiber optic type thing. There's an LED light, and it changes. It's pretty cool. Anyway, why don't we do a giveaway for one of those? Let's see. Ham reference mat. And we'll do that one. And a quick reference tag. All right, so first one is going to be for the quick reference tag. And to do the giveaway, I should be able to do this. This is me testing things out live, which you know how that always goes, guys. Never doing this before. We're going to do it live. We're going to take a keyword, and the keyword is grid down. So hold on. All one word. Go for it. Grid down. All one word. Make it blow up. There you go. Just like that. I don't think it matters if you have a uppercase or lowercase. Oh, it's working. Wow. Hey, this is cool. I'm using a different app than those other streamers. I've got a different app that's doing this now, and it works really well so far. We'll see how well it works when we actually roll it. But all right, so let me get a piece of paper out here. So this is the. Oh, but the downside is how the heck am I going to determine who you are? Oh, this will be fun. I wonder if it's going to help me with that. Well, we're going to try this out. We'll figure it out live. I had over 100 people. All right. Yeah, have them email me as like everybody's going to email me then. Grid down one word. Anyway, all right, 126 people. Let's roll it. You guys keep doing it 2 words, and I don't think it's going to work for you. All right, here we go. Let's see. Can I? It doesn't let me. Interesting. Interesting. All right, so the winner is you won. DM me on Discord or email me. George Fernandez, you're the winner. See, it doesn't do anything fun though. And okay, well, it's not that great. Wait, why did it roll it? You won, but you didn't say. Oh, I guess you did. Interesting. So weird. All right. Well, that's yeah, there you go. Nicely done, Phil. I guess you can. You can show the screen. That might work. Let's see if that works. It doesn't look very cool though. It's just Nightbot. Woo. In fact, let's do it like this. There you go. All right. Next one is going to be so the first one was for the quick reference tag. And now we'll do the LED reference chart. It's not going to be grid down, though. We're going to change it to keyword ID 50, all one word. ID 50. Like that. Like the way I just did it. Right on. Keep it going. Blow it up. Oh, George. I don't see it, George. Wait. That is definitely you. It's the same. You're the man. All right. All right. We got how many people? 158 people. Holy smokes. See, if you don't watch, you won't know when I'm going to do a giveaway. Not just my crazy big giveaways, but just the random ones. Is it 3 weeks for the Kenwood? Oh, for the new Kenwood? Yeah, I think. January. People are ruminating on first week in January, but I don't know. It's going to be any time in January. They didn't make it for Christmas. Was kind of the big thing. I am in the random ones. Grid down. Someone's still doing grid down. ID 50 is what you need to do. All right, gonna take last call here. We're gonna roll it. Yeah, hit me up on Discord is probably the best way. And here we go. Gary Lund. How did it do that? It's doing keywords. Yeah, I want to keyword. Yeah, keyword. A channel member gets no luck. That's right. Regulars get no extra luck. Yeah. Gary Lund. So if I go to... Yeah, but see, it didn't... Mark ineligible. What is... Oh, interesting. So no, you're good. Okay, that's that. I totally get it. That's weird. Don't fully understand the whole thing, but... Gary Lund, you get it. Right on. Okay. Gary Lund, hit me up on Discord. DM me over there, please. And thank you. All right. And that's another big shout out to Quirky QRP for helping us out. Do a bit of giveaway fun for the holidays. There he is. I see him. Congratulations, buddy. Yeah, let me show you that LED, Matt. There it is. In all its glory. I like it. What's the other cool one? They got like a clock too, right? Yeah, look at these clocks. These clocks are awesome. Look at that. That's cool. Super, super cool. All right, we'll drop the link here for you to Quirky QRP. Make that the pin. All righty. I think that's going to do it. So if you guys would like to, love it if you followed us on over to the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord. I'm going to go live after this. Give me 15 minutes to turn this ship around. And we're going to be taking your questions live. So you got a radio question, even if you want me to demonstrate some stuff, if you want me to break out some of my HF radios or whatever, basically I can do it all live. And we got a ton of smart people that'll be in the Discord also answering questions for anything that I don't know how to figure out, which that happens all the time. So take a minute if you got them, hang out with us, and ignore your family. All right, there you go. I'm Josh KI6NAZ. I got to play the patrons. Here we go. Big thank you to the patrons. Something special. Oh, I gotta redo this. Very special. This is all the patrons that's active, sorted by your first month, and the first person cracked me up. It's Ethan. It's Ethan, the admin. Thank you, Ethan. Jason, there's Jason. Dennis. A lot of these names, Jace, Evan, Dennis. Man, thank you for the long-term support. You guys are Andy. So many of these names, Devin B. Hedge, some of these names have been there's Dennis, man, have been supporters for a really long time, back when I used to just shout out everybody's name, literally reading them. Man, just so cool. Thank you so much for the continued support. It's pretty wild. Dragechevic, I think. I think I still screw that up. It took me weeks to figure out how to say that correctly. So appreciate you all. Thank you. Andy, man, super, super cool. So I really do appreciate y'all. Joseph, you missed the giveaways, bud. Done. Ding, all done. We will be doing the giveaways for the big radios at the end of the month, but this was just a fun one for Quirky QRP. So that was it. So, yep. So, yeah, take a minute if you got the time. Hey, Radio Pen Pals, what's up? Just seeing all the names, man. So many good names of people supporting on the Patreon. Really do appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. Let's see what else. I think that's everything I wanted to hit. Hopefully that scratches some itches, and that's what people were looking for. But yeah, 73 everybody. Yeah, a lot of 73s in the chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And James Hannibal, thanks again, buddy. That's super cool. Thanks for throwing some giveaways this way. Do you have a video on a cheapest, easiest, proper way to set up repeaters? Well, I don't know what you mean. Like physically, the repeater that goes up in the Radio Shack? No, because I don't ever work on repeaters. That's not my thing. If you mean like how to set up a radio for a repeater, kind of like what we just did. You're just copying the repeater reference into whatever application you use. That's the easiest way. And then if you don't have the repeater reference, you take the frequency and you're either going to go up or down to some kilohertz, and then you're going to add a CTCSS tone, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Yeah, everybody thank James Hannibal for the giveaways. He's the one that allowed that to happen. So yeah, big thank you. Everybody with the grid Boondock Techno. Hey, what's up, guys? Appreciate you. Thanks for coming out. Grid down. All right. And if you're still hanging out, you haven't left yet, we lost 100 people in like record time because I'm wrapping up. Give me a subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you didn't already. It's really appreciated. Thank you. ID down? I hope not. I hope we're not ID down. Prep Ham Paul. That's a new one. Hey, that's ADHD Life. I know that guy. I'm looking at all the names. Sorry. I'm not being very interesting. Have you used RM noise? No, I don't even know what RM noise is. How many patrons do I have? A lot. A pretty good amount. But I also have this kind of slow so that everybody got a moment that they could see themselves. I wanted to take my time. There we go. We made it. All right. What? Oh. I can't tell you how many patrons I have because the website has logged me out, and I can't log back in right now because I'm live. All right, guys, that'll do it. I'm going to wrap things up here. Like I said, I'll flip things around. I'll be back on the air in about 15 to 20 minutes. It'll be a new YouTube video, but the fastest way to get around that is just hop on over to the Discord, and you can join us there live. All right? Appreciate you. Enjoy the memes. 73.